Hello and welcome to this, I'm very excited, our very first episode of Life Are We There Yet? The self-progress podcast which seeks out ways to lead as fulfilling a life as possible on this perfectly imperfect journey that is life. We are your clueless hosts, Isaac Rookmore.
Hello.
There we go, you got it this time. And I am Jack Henderson. We're two university dropouts who've decided to try and see how quickly we can annoy each other by jumping on the bandwagon and doing a podcast. But for the very first time, Isaac, a maestro, and I've always wanted to say this, roll the theme tune.
Up and down, left and right, you say we should, I think we might wander for a while. Up and down, left and right, you say we should, I think we might wander for a while. And we came here from somewhere and we could go anywhere else, just don't ask me, are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Now, first things first, Isaac and I just want to say a huge thank you to my wonderful Celtic friend Ellen O'Marney, who I know from university prior to dropping out, for recording our theme tune for us. We absolutely love it, we hope you do as well, and I can't stress enough how much you should go and listen to Ellen's band Elkin, on that's E-L-K-I-N, on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, YouTube, and facebook.com/Elkin Band. Also, the harmonies you could hear right at the end of the tune were done by Carla, Ellen's partner in crime in the band. So a big thank you to her as well. Well, Isaac, here we are. Here we finally are. After 6 months' work, doing not very much, just faffing about.
The culmination.
The culmination. Here we are. 6 months hard work, doing not a lot, buying overpriced coffees.
That's it. Well, we've got one right now and it tastes superb. Excellent.
A fine brew.
A fine Peruvian blend.
Oh, it's terrifying, this, isn't it? Well, we better stop stalling for time and set out our stall, wordplay, and explain what exactly this podcast is, who we are, and why exactly we're doing it. If in fact we know ourselves, which realistically we probably don't. So, first and foremost, what this podcast is. It's many things, really, but at its core, what we want to do is put out a weekly show talking to not only each other, thank goodness, but also guests from any and every walk of life, doctors, entrepreneurs, creatives, comedians, to name but a few, about issues we feel are interesting and need talking about, topics that warrant discussion, and perhaps most importantly, talk about things that myself, you, Isaac, but also the few people who stumble across this piece of nonsense or feel obliged to listen because they're family members can derive some sort of benefit from, even the slightest bit of benefit in their day-to-day lives, and help them lead, air quotes, better lives, however that may be. But first and foremost, we want to stress we do not want to preach. We do not want to be preachy. We don't want to come across as preachy because we know nothing, frankly. We are two idiots, really, as the dropout suggests. And we are not in a position to preach you. So if we do come across as preachy at any point, please let us know. Please shoot us down in the most aggressive way possible. Actually, please don't, because I am just a weak boy. Most importantly, though, we want this podcast to be open and honest, really. So that's my hack-handed attempt at explaining what this show is. Isaac, you would have no doubt done a better job, so apologies.
I'm not sure about that.
Oh, you're such a cutie, you. What will we be covering? I hear you say, Isaac. Well, thank you for asking.
Yes, what will we be covering?
Thank you. It's almost like we have this planned. As we said, there'll be lots of different areas we sort of delve into, but I think we perhaps... it would be best if we both say the 2 or 3 main areas that intrigue us, and that's probably the best way to go about this. So, Isaac, my dear, what are you particularly interested in looking at?
Well, I mean, there are thousands of podcasts out there.
So many.
I personally listen to, I think I've sort of narrowed it down to a couple, but it's perhaps
15 for me.
Yeah.
It's not a competition.
I'm on about 3, I think, but it's narrowing it down and really focusing on the things that we love and the things that maybe we struggle with, and the things that make us better, quote unquote, better people.
Yeah, we've got to stop doing air quotes. It's not really good for a podcast medium.
Yeah, people can't visualize that. But anyway, so I think something that really touches my heart is sort of entrepreneurship. Not because I would consider myself in any way successful at the moment, but I'd like to be.
I think you do yourself a disservice, to be honest.
Thank you.
You love the hustle, you.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about, and that seems to be my escape from perhaps the troubles and tribulations that go into life, and that's something that I'd like to touch on personally. But then again, I never want to constrain myself or ourselves.
Yeah.
And we want to be open to listeners' feedback and what they want.
Yeah, I mean, the point is, it may sound like a very sort of broad umbrella concept for a show, but we feel that by not particularly limiting ourselves, we can talk to all sorts of interesting people, and people we wouldn't, necessarily think to talk to if, say, we were just doing an entrepreneurial podcast or, say, a mental health podcast.
Exactly, yeah.
Because for me, a big part of it, not the sole reason, but a big part of it is mental health. That's something it's personally affected me, and something I really want to touch upon more. Mm-hmm. Also, sort of life as a creative, whether that be actors, writers, comedians, or whatnot. The importance of an active lifestyle. People that really spend the majority of their time outdoors to some degree. Like, I know you know someone who was an advertising executive in London.
That's right, I think, yeah.
And now she just is a paddleboard instructor near Anglesey. Changing from the fast-paced, not really having much control over her life, to doing what she really loves doing.
The true work-life balance.
Exactly. Yeah. So how that's helped them. Modern technologies as well. That's a big category to go into. Mm-hmm. For example, social media and the pros and cons and the dangers that lie therein of that. I mean, which is
the most hypocritical thing, considering...
Yeah, we've been trying to push our Instagram world. But I don't think we're kind of sitting on the fence a bit with it, because there are evidently positives to social media, especially in today's world. I think if you want to make it as a creative in today's world, you really have to, whether you like it or not, accept the fact that you need to use social media as one of your key tools.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But the other thing, the flip side of that is, and it certainly affected me in some ways, there is a very dangerous, very dark and damaging side, I think, to social media, mm-hmm. Which isn't perhaps being talked about enough, and a lot of people are perhaps just getting swept and caught up in it, and damage is being done before they realise. Modern lifestyles, and perhaps unconventional lifestyles, or lifestyles we should be learning from. Anyone that knows me knows I am a massive Scandinavian fan and will not shut up about it. If you know me, you'll know I went to Iceland last year because I wouldn't shut up about it and I wouldn't stop telling people. So I personally want to look at hygge. I think that's how it's pronounced. Hygge. That's probably the most racist attempt at pronunciation ever. HYGGE. The sort of lifestyle that's taken the world by storm over the past few years, looking at big cozy blankets and the idea of warmth and comfort and family food and that kind of thing.
Well, there's got to be some reason why these Scandinavians are so happy.
Yeah, I mean, probably high taxes has something to do with it. But, something's for that as well. And if I can find a way to talk somehow about food, I will find a way. I'll find benefit there.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I also wanted to touch on is people that know me know perhaps haven't been the most active in my especially.
You just need a bit of a kick. That's what you need.
Especially during my school years. And I'd love to be healthier. Yeah. And if this podcast allows me to have any amount of accountability to do that, then that's going to be great.
Yeah. So just generally becoming, that's the point of this podcast, becoming better people, as cheesy as that may sound. We want to get better ourselves through doing it. We want, as we said, the listeners, however few there may be, to get any kind of benefit from it. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily to the extreme and go to the extreme that some of our guests will do. We're not saying go and be a doctor or go and start your own business, but we feel there are definitely aspects you can take from those professions and those people's stories, which you can implement to at least a small extent in your day-to-day life, that helps you.
Yeah, and that's it. I think what we're looking to do is, as cringy as it may sound, is
I'm prepared.
is create a community.
Where's the bucket? Yeah. No, but it's true. We want to make a network of this. We want to. A lot of it's casting aside the sort of self-doubt and stuff, and I think both of us, we were really worried, and we still are, I think, to an extent, about what other people, say our friends and stuff, are going to think about us doing this. But the point is, it really doesn't matter ultimately. Obviously, we hope you like it, but it's about casting aside those self-doubts and just taking a bit of a leap of faith. I warn you, this episode will be full of cliches.
It will be,
as will the podcast in general. So if that's not my bag, baby, then maybe just stop listening now. Actually, please don't. We need the listeners. Please just stay with us, please.
We'll get better. Get better.
Yeah, it's a learning curve, guys. Come on.
But I think that this episode we're also going to perhaps outline our background, because we come from a relatively small knit community in the school that we went to.
Yeah, we were very sheltered, very I think sort of protected, and then when we both went to university, it kind of took us a bit by surprise. I think, bit naive.
Definitely,
very naive.
Yeah, not that was a bad thing, and we'll touch on the background, how we became friends.
I still don't know how that happened. So, just a little bit of context. Isaac and I first met at school, and we actually first, I think, met on a sort of open day.
So yeah, was that before?
I think it was
school
sort
started?
of during year 6, sort of during the end of primary school, as we were looking around schools. The school we went to, ended up going to, had a big sort of open day, taster day, whatever you want to call it.
Show off day.
Yeah, pretty much. And we had a big game of football, and Isaac and I were on the same team. We went to different primary schools, so we had no idea who we were. You were in goal, weren't you? No, were you in defence?
I swear you were in goal.
Was I in goal?
Yeah.
One of us was in defence, one of us was in goal, and there was another guy I knew from my school that was with me. I personally don't remember this, but about 4 years ago, Isaac goes, "Yeah, you remember the first time we met on that taster day? Yeah, you were really mean to me."
You were really mean.
Yeah, so our friendship started through being harsh from me being a bully to you, essentially. So I apologise for that.
No,
you've never, don't say it's fine. You've never forgiven me. You'll never forgive me. Yeah, so that's how we met. Became really good school friends. I did a lot of, in school, I've always been a sort of more creative type person, I think it's fair to say. Got involved with music and English was always my favourite subject. I enjoyed writing a lot. But for me, acting was my big one. I did loads of school plays. I did the typical fluffing my lines. Anyone that remembers watching Inspector Calls, you'll remember me severely getting stage fright and just being caught like a rabbit in headlights. Oh, what a memory that was. Just completely didn't know what to say, got prompted, didn't hear the prompt, so I proceeded to say exactly the same incorrect line again, somehow thinking that would get me out the situation. Answer, it didn't. Oh, I've never felt so embarrassed. It was awful. But yeah, I got into that. Wore the makeup and everything, became a full-on diva. I love it. You know me. I'll be like, oh no, I hate it. I don't. It's great. I love the attention, me. Yeah. And after that, I did the thing where I thought, yeah, I'm going to be a professional actor. I'm going to be a big shot. I'm going to be the next Benedict Cumberbatch, Eddie Redmayne, Tom Hardy. My love for Tom Hardy is real. Everyone will know that. So I auditioned for the big London drama schools, RADA, LAMDA, Guildhall. And Isaac, guess what?
Did you get in?
No!
Oh,
not even close. You're a mean friend. Set me up for that. So yeah, that was me. And then I went to university after that as a fallback. So what about you? What's always been your sort of career path, career choice?
I went through a stage of wanting to be a rock star, as everyone does, right?
Again, you do if anyone's heard Isaac play the guitar, they will know he is phenomenal. He is a brilliant guitarist. He just doesn't ever show anyone because he's too shy.
That's it. So those two things are sort of polar opposites of each other, and has prevented me from pursuing that in a way. I mean, I can play the guitar.
You can do more than that.
but I've never really had the chance to show that. So that sort of fell by the wayside. I think we had this crazy mad woman who was our French and German teacher in about
yeah, naming names,
year 9, who sort of didn't inspire me because she was kind of crazy, but
there's nothing wrong with being crazy, man.
no, but yeah, she really sort of pushed me to do languages, which I did. Go
on, speak some languages to me. Speak fluent Korean mixed with a hint of Russian. Go on. I need it.
We should get someone who actually knows languages to come on the podcast
and just speak to us, and we nod and pretend to comprehend what they're saying.
Yeah, and then we could sort of branch out into different audiences and stuff like that.
Do you speak franglais? Je m'appelle Jax.
Because that's the problem. Like you don't keep it up and you forget it.
Oh, it goes quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that's my problem now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I decided I'll go and do that at university. Despite the fact that I did like no work for my A-levels.
No, really? I thought you worked really hard.
I think every time an exam season came around, I found like the biggest distraction or obsession to get
fixated on something
transfixed
else.
on.
Just the king of procrastination over it.
And nothing's really changed, but
not at all.
At least now I'm doing something that I like doing, which is filming. So I got involved in sort of drone flying.
The more I listen to you talk, the more I realise how cool you are.
I don't know. No,
you're a rock star. You're flying drones. He's got the coolest man cave ever. It's phenomenal.
So yeah, I did that, and I got my license and stuff. And it's been really really successful so far.
How long did it take you to get the license? Was it a fairly laborious process, or was it fairly easy?
It took a couple of days, but I was
okay.
I was 16 at the time.
Oh, cool.
Which
That's quite young to get your drone license.
And you guys knew nothing about that.
Yeah, you never told us.
Yeah, I know. So I just kept it completely under wraps. But so yeah, they only really accepted 18-year-olds at the time. So I sort of pleaded my case and it was
lied
the
about
first,
your age.
No, I was the first 16-year-old to get it, which is
insane.
a selling point, I guess.
My USP.
Yeah. So I've gone on and sort of landed some relatively big clients, and I've just really been enjoying doing it.
But you've not just limited yourself to the drone stuff. You're also doing your editing and your photography. You're branching out into wedding photography as well, which is a really exciting prospect for you. Yeah, and also maybe some free work for me, which I will not sniff my nose at.
Yeah, so I work most weekends now editing the news down in London, which is. It's kind of cool.
Just such a big shot. I feel privileged to have you in my house.
I get to stare at Donald Trump's face every weekend. Which is
who wouldn't want to?
A privilege and a
a blessing in disguise. But it brings the money in, so
Yeah, but that's me in a nutshell.
Oh, I'm allergic to nuts. A bit.
In a peanut shell.
No, please don't. Just say the word. I just flare up. Oh. Yeah, so you did because you went to Hull Uni to start with to do languages.
That's true. Yeah.
Was it about halfway through the first year? Last year you just decided it wasn't for you.
Yeah, I think it was a downward spiral. Really, it was not going to lectures.
Yeah.
Not going to lectures.
And not going to lectures.
And then dropping out.
Yeah, and I mean obviously you at the same time you obviously already had your drone stuff going on as well. Yeah. So it wasn't like you were dropping out thinking, oh, what am I going to do? You always had, I think probably in the back of your mind, you knew that was really where you wanted to go in comparison with what you were doing at university. It
was like jumping off a cliff, but actually having a parachute to save me.
So base jumping is what so that's you went to Hull and that's what you're doing now. So I went to, as I said, I auditioned for drama schools, didn't get in, didn't get close, didn't get a sniff. It's an absolute travesty. No, it's not. I did not deserve to get in. I was far too young and just not good enough. So I went
That's not true.
Yeah, I played for that. Thank you. See, it's a raconteur skill. That is. You play for the compliment. That's what you do. Just got to inflate this ego even more. So I went to Southampton University to do something completely related to drama. So I did marine biology. As anyone that's creative does, because exactly, fish. Dolphins, acting, it's all linked, isn't it? Blue Planet on the next Attenborough, me, I promise. Here we have a wild Isaac Rookmore sipping from his coffee and making an utter fool of himself as he does a poor man's David Attenborough. Yeah, there'll be a lot of me just sort of rambling in this podcast. Isaac's by far the professional one of the two of us.
That is not true.
Yeah, but you don't make a complete and utter idiot of yourself in front of the mic. Yeah, so I went to Southampton. I was thinking, yeah, I'll get a steady fullback kind of degree, and just have it as the sort of back burner thing. But if there's one thing I've now learned, is that if you are not enjoying something, if you really don't have a sort of any kind of interest or passion in it, it's very difficult to motivate yourself to go to lectures, to do exams, to do whatnot. And I think the turning point for me was, this year just gone, Blue Planet 2 came out, this big huge series, and obviously it was a bit of a cult sensation
within the marine biology world.
Just I think just generally, but yeah. So I would be going to lectures, and everyone would be raving about, "Do you see the latest episode of Blue Planet 2? It's amazing!" And they would just be going absolutely crazy over it. And they were like, "Jack, do you see it? Jack, do you see it?" And I was just like, "Yeah, it's all right."
Oh, I saw some fish. Yeah.
I had a passing interest, and to be honest, not that much more than that. So I think it was at that point, with the culmination of other things, I realised get off the treadmill now, because otherwise I'm going to find myself 10 years down the line in a job. He says, hopefully, that I really wasn't enjoying.
You say that, but there were elements to university that you did really enjoy, and that goes for me as well. But what sort of areas did you enjoy?
Yeah, so for me, as I said before, it was mainly the acting. There was a society called Theatre Group down in Southampton. Hello to any of you that are kind enough to be listening. And yeah, I got involved in that in first year and continued into second year. And I think that really sort of galvanized my decision that was the kind of environment I wanted to be in for the,
more of a creative space.
A creative space, and as in terms of a profession, whether that be writing or acting. The dream is still to act, but it's obviously such a subjective and such a saturated world.
Well, if there's any agents listening.
Yeah, this is all this podcast is. It's just a plug for both of us. It's just shameless. That's what we are, absolutely shameless, barefaced, just plugging away our endeavours. Yeah, so I want to still do acting, but I realised, as I said, English was always something I did at school. You talked about that teacher who was a bit crazy, but also sort of inspired you. I had someone similar into my English teacher.
True enough.
Who also was a lot of the directors for a lot of the plays. And so I just started, after I dropped out, I started writing again, whether it be poetry, comedy sketches, little short stories. And I was doing it for the sake of enjoying it, not feeling that I should do it, or it was just starting to come to me again, and it hadn't for a long, long time. And it was just a really nice feeling. And it's still happening. I'm starting a creative writing course, an online course in October, I think. I'm really excited for that. But I just feel perhaps it's much more suited to me, really. And
you're now getting to write outside the GCSE classroom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Off your own back.
Yeah, the constraints aren't there anymore. I can write what I want to write, whether that's for good or bad. I'm still very hesitant to show people my any sort of my writing or poetry or whatnot, because it's difficult. It's like with this podcast, putting anything out that you've done, you're putting yourself out there, you're putting yourself above the parapet, waiting for criticism, essentially, because everyone's a critic. And it's very, very easy to say, 6 months ago when we had this idea, we could have then said, oh, it's a cool idea, but that'll never happen, and
here we are
somehow. But I think that's been one of the benefits of doing it, with just doing it with someone else, but with such a close friend, is when one of us has had that kind of doubt, we very quickly shut the other one up. We've said, come on, less of that. We've come so far already, we may as well carry on. I mean, I'm just dreading the stage where we both go, oh, not really feeling it anymore, both at the same time, because that's when we're done. That's when we're out.
Yeah, but that's where we need we need your feedback as listeners. Let us know.
Yeah, and as we said, if there's anything you particularly want to hear about, do let us know. We'll give you our contact details at the end of the show. But in tandem, so I touched upon why mental health was something I really wanted to delve further into, men's mental health particularly, because it's not really talked about as an issue. It's not going to be the sole focus of the show by any means. I was saying we're not limiting to ourselves to anything, but mental health is something we will talk about. You enjoying your coffee there?
Oh, that is some good coffee.
That's a very arousing tone. Very sort of Nescafe Gold.
That was my like advertising.
Your George Clooney, Nespresso. Other brands are available.
I apologise. Carry on.
Thank you. So yeah, the whole point of this podcast, as we said, was to be honest and open. And for me, yeah, one of, if not, it's not the sole reason, but one of the main reasons I wanted to set up this podcast with you, my dear friend, was running in tandem with all of what I said. And that's been a struggle with some mental health problems, which I only actually really revealed at this Christmas just gone, when it essentially took a breakdown of sorts, without meaning to sound melodramatic. I mean, that is who I am. I am an actor. I am a thus why I'm allowed to be melodramatic. And that is why I did not get into drama school. But yeah, that's what it took. It took a breakdown of sorts for me to realise that I really needed to put the handbrake on things and get myself sorted out, and that there was something going on. And the fact that it took me to get to that point before finally reaching out for help, I think is a reflection on how we still perhaps view and see mental health issues as a society. But we'll touch upon that later, and certainly in later episodes. A big thing for me has always been control. So control in all aspects, but particularly controlling who I am, who I want to be based on, social constructs and social perceptions and whatnot, and controlling my thoughts. And basically, for a long time, my whole teenage years, really, half my life, and some of my close friends and my family already know this, I really, really violently repressed my sexuality, or part of my sexuality, which is obviously a huge part of who anyone is. And if you run away from that, then it's just entirely unsustainable. If you're running away from such a huge part of who you are, because it is, it makes up a large part of who you are. If you're running away from that, if you're constantly, when you're on your own, you still feel at unease. There's that quote that I can't remember who said it, but you are who you are when you're on your own. And for me, for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, being on my own, I was just constantly in a state of unease and tension and anxiety because I wasn't happy and I wasn't being true to who I was, and I was constantly running away from myself, and it's incredibly tiring. And that's what led me, essentially, amongst other things, like not doing what I was enjoying, and just getting myself into a sort of cycle of anxiety. It just took its toll. So yeah, I am bisexual, happily so. I know it's not a big thing, but when you have spent roughly half of your life running away and saying that you're not something, it becomes a bit of a bigger thing. Like, it's a big thing for me. Well, people say,
oh, it's not a big thing, but to you it must be.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. And I think the thing I feel about it shouldn't be a big thing.
No,
it shouldn't. It shouldn't even be on. It shouldn't matter at all what someone is, whether they're straight, bi, trans, pan, whatever. It doesn't matter.
No.
And people are so supportive and I'm incredibly lucky. And I know I'm in a very privileged position that as a white, just as a white bisexual guy, there are people who have it far, far worse than me. I've not had any, negative sort of feedback so far. But I know that there are people, transgender people, pan people, just women generally have it much more difficult. And yet still there's just this sort of nagging feeling that there's still this kind of unease around it. And there shouldn't be. It's just get rid of it. I'm fed up of people, not just with regards to sexuality, but I'm fed up with people not feeling like they can talk about mental health, like it's something that's still a taboo. There's still this stigma around it, and it is getting better. But it shouldn't it shouldn't come across the minds of anyone that it shouldn't be something you should talk about. Exactly. Because it's such an important thing to talk about, and it's as equally important as physical health, because the fact that between 18 and 25 the highest sort of cause of death for males is suicide. It's ridiculous.
And people like to whinge on about physical oh, my leg hurts, so why can't we just talk about this?
Exactly. And I'm not advocating that, because there does have to be a degree of, you have to get on with it to an extent, but it's not one or the other. You shouldn't have to bottle everything up to a breakdown. You should be able to feel you can talk to, and you shouldn't have to burden it on one person. You should feel like you can talk to your parents, or if you're lucky to have family, or your friends, or someone, even if it's online, to someone like the charity Mind does great work. You can ring up a counsellor, or just someone to vent to. And I'm just really tired of having to feel like it's not something that should be talked about.
No,
but
absolutely.
that's a massive tangent. So basically, yes, that was so that was it. That was sort of acknowledging for the, and I still am, my sexuality. Annoyingly, I let myself get into a bit of a sorry state before opening up about all of this. I developed really severe anxiety to the point I just wouldn't leave my room at uni apart from perhaps to make food or go to the gym, if I could absolutely help it. The whole control thing, it got to the point where I was, these thoughts, say about my sexuality, if they came to the fore, I still tried to consciously control them, controlling what my subconscious was generating. And if I couldn't control those, well, then I had to have control in another way. And what that manifested itself in was an eating disorder, essentially. Well, not in essence, it is. Calorie counting with the apps, severely restricting my diet, compulsive sort of exercise. My whole worth became fixated around sort of appearance and the idea, the gratification which came from, because I was just so sort of unhappy elsewhere. The satisfaction that came from losing a pound or 2 pounds of weight, it became everything, and it just spiraled and cycled, and I had this break. But I've been, since I've come home, now living at home, doing this with you. I honestly, it's been a huge thing for me doing this with you. Been a huge thing, been a huge help being able to invest energy and time into something that we both feel so strongly about. But we want it to be authentic and to come. Although we're putting an emphasis on trying to put high quality content out if we can. Mm-hmm. Certainly audio aside, you're such a good photographer and we're managing to put out really good quality. No, you are. If you see our Instagram page, you'll see the work that Isaac's managed to do with the lighting of the shots and whatnot. It's a really high standard, we think, for the age we are and just setting out.
And that's sort of our first port of call is to you're purely listening to our dulcet tones, our voices.
This is what we want. This is the authentic part, and when there'll be weeks when we record episodes and I'll be feeling like crap, and I'll probably sound like I'm feeling like crap, mm-hmm. and I probably won't be the best host out there. But the point is, you don't need to pretend and cover up and say everything's fine when it isn't always.
Yeah, because even though this is being recorded, I guess we sort of feel a bit apprehensive, a bit anxious right now.
Oh, hugely, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, my heart rate's going, but that might just be the coffee.
getting the
jitters. Well, it's my sister's coffee, and like the brand's actually the effing strong coffee or something like that. That's what it's called. So one of the strongest coffees out there.
I definitely feel awake. Which is no bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah, Isaac, wake up. So yeah, that's us. That's a little intro for us, I guess.
Yeah.
You'll obviously learn more about us as we go on.
I think this is the whole process of this is development, setting ourselves personal challenges, being
accountable for what we say,
mm-hmm.
because there's no point in us. This is the thing, we don't want to, as we said, we don't want to preach. So what we say, we want to follow ourselves. And even the title of the show, Life Are We There Yet? Well, obviously we're never going to be there. You're constantly looking for ways to better yourself, to strive to, even in the littlest way possible, just be a better, again, air quotes for whatever that may be, person in whatever way or facet that manifests itself. Mm-hmm. Because you can be better in so many aspects. You can be better in terms of your health. You can be better in terms of how you are with people. You can be better in terms of how you are at ease with yourself. As I said, that's a big thing for me. It's just becoming more at ease with myself. You can be better in terms of the content you put out. There's just so many ways in which we can develop ourselves. And we just want to, even if it's to a tiny bit for each bit, we just want to tap into and access where we can that kind of well there is out there. So
what areas would you say you'd like to develop the most?
Ooh. Well, Isaac, that is a good question. I'd like to be better at putting out my own content. I'd like to be more confident with sharing because if I do want to get into
your writing in particular.
Yeah, my writing in particular, which I guess doing the course, the creative writing course is part of that. But if it is something I want to do and make a living out of, then I need to get to the point where I can put stuff out.
I think we should just prize out of you, because it is great stuff, you know, from what I've seen so far. And you know, throughout the self-doubt, I think just getting out there is people are going to love it.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
And if we can sort of combine it with this and find any outlets to combine it with here.
I mean, we've said it's even, no matter how sort of pie in the sky thinking it is, like long term, we'd love to, you know, film a documentary or something.
Oh, we'd love that. I'd love that personally as like a challenge to my so-called craft. And you know, stuff like, it's just giving people options as well. If people don't want to have something that's so long form, because these episodes are going to be
hopefully 45 minutes to an hour, roughly. Around 45 minutes.
Yeah, but you know, if you don't have that sort of time, or you don't want to listen to us for that amount of time,
which is completely understandable. We really do get it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't listen to us. No.
So we're going to explore and try out different mediums. Media. Good grades. Yeah. So I want to be able to be better at putting out my own content. I think ultimately for me, I want to get to a position where, as I said, when I'm on my own, I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm better than I was, but I'm still not. I still feel like I'm sort of, you know, at every corner I'm looking over my shoulder, you know, but against an unseen unease. You're twice the person, you know, from what we've seen. I think we're thinking that Christmas time was sort of a low point, was it?
Christmas to February sort of time was when I was at my worst, and I was not a fun person to be around. Yeah, there's not even any denial there. He's just full he was an absolute git. He was just not fun.
And now we just ignore everyone's messages, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We're just really bad at getting back to people. But that's just because we're trying to focus on something that's going to hopefully be really positive, and that's sort of my motivation anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, because we know it sounds cheesy, but we don't care. And we'll get flack for that. But if some people can get some positivity from it, then frankly I don't really care about other people that may judge it. But we're not going to be put off just because some people think what we're doing is not worthwhile. I'm not sure if people will think that, but we believe genuinely what we're doing is worth doing, and to me at least, that's enough reason enough to give it a go.
I think you know, touching on that, there's it's our age in a way. We're British. We're young.
How observant.
Yeah, I know, because a lot of these podcasts, and there's nothing wrong with it. They are American.
Well, there's definitely something wrong. No, I have a lot of respect for our friends across the pond.
Yeah, but you know, we sort of, we want to put more of a British standpoint on things. So people within our community, our island, can relate. Because
I think that sort of self-help, you know, positive can-do attitude is very much an American mindset, or it comes much more easily to them, I think, than perhaps the British, because historically and traditionally we've had this stiff upper lip Victorian mindset, you know, that we don't really talk about anything, and we just sort of, if we're feeling bad, we don't talk about it. If we're feeling good, we don't talk about it. If we're feeling, you know, wonderful or angry or enraged or just want to shout out to the world, we don't, because we're British and that's what we do. If we can encourage the idea that we're not saying go full American, sorry to any American listeners, but you know, and very sort of fire and brimstone gospel style, shouting it from the rooftops, everything's going to be okay. But the point is, you can talk, it's okay to. And that is something we could learn, and it pains me to say it, it's something we could learn from the Americans. But
some of the American attitudes are worth cultivating.
Entirely commendable, yeah. So that gives you a little idea of who we are. What are the 3 words, if I had to ask you 3 words that you want this podcast to be? 3 different words, not just like under 1 hour, but that's probably what a lot of people would like. But what 3 things would you like this podcast to be or associated with, or you see what I mean? You know what I mean? Just answer.
Totally. First one, accountability.
Yes.
Do I have to explain each one?
Yes.
Okay.
Buzzwords, go, accountability.
So accountability is it is setting ourselves challenges. It's maybe setting some of our guests challenges or something from their routines and habits
that we try and implement ourselves.
You know, we'll pick the time scale for that, but that's something I'm really keen to do is set those challenges and have that in place. And if we mess up, you guys are going to know.
We'll
call us
hold
out.
We'll hold the other person to account. We'll set each other little challenges and whatnot, and we will call each other out when it goes wrong.
Because I think that's been something that's helped me in terms of motivation, is sort of the habitual nature of life.
Yeah,
I think it's fair to say.
Getting into a routine, getting it, and just keeping. And it's again cliche time. If at first you don't succeed, try. It's worth if something's been done for a long time. There's probably a reason it's been done.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, something I want to perhaps touch upon more, especially when I'm feeling really anxious, which is quite a lot of the time, mindfulness. So, the practice of if a bad thought or an intrusive thought or whatever comes into your head, just seeing it for what it is. It's a thought, being present with it, and just look at where it's coming from rather than letting yourself get affected by it. Keep yourself in the moment. Don't let it get to you too much because it's just a thought. Don't try and control it. Don't feel like it that's who you are. You're not because you have a bad thought, you're not an awful person. For me, a lot of this sort of intrusive thoughts, things I've had, thoughts come up through my subconscious, which I can't help. And I've felt incredibly guilty. And I mean guilty for days, for weeks, in some cases even for months, about thoughts I've had, which I can't control. And that's not sustainable. It's a ridiculous way to live because it's incredibly tiring. No one sees your thoughts. No one cares about your thoughts. Everyone's self-centered, really.
So is that one of your words then? Would you say
what, mindfulness?
Mindfulness. Being present.
Yeah. Well, we'll do your other two first while I quickly think of three.
Okay, I think my second
accountability one.
Yeah, my accountability. My second one, I think, is discomfort.
Ooh, I was not expecting that.
So,
explain.
I think what I want to try and do is step out and be a bit uncomfortable in situations like now.
That is the meaning of discomfort.
Yeah. To perhaps push ourselves further, or just make a fool of ourselves. Whichever
absolutely.
one.
I think they go hand in hand. I think you can't do one without the other. I think
there you go.
In the very process of doing this, we are making fools of ourselves, and we love it. Word number 3.
Embrace it.
Exactly. Why not? Who cares?
I think it's just progression.
Progression.
Development.
That's a fourth word.
No.
Recant. Take it back. Get out of here.
As much as I like development, I'm gonna take it back.
Stick with progress.
Yeah.
No. Is it progress?
Progression.
I'm sorry.
Whether that's self progression or just everyone progressing, everyone making some sort of difference, whether that's helping someone else out or just, I think looking internally is something we don't do as people enough.
Yeah. I think a bit of introspection is incredibly
it's not selfish.
important. No.
It needs to be done.
I think you should never get to the point where you're so introspective that you neglect what's going on around you, because you can become, I think, quite self-centered through doing that. But I think it's incredibly important to take time sometime to put yourself first. To think, am I okay? If not, what can I do to make my life better? Because I've said this before, and if you've heard me say this, I apologize. There isn't anyone in your life who you're going to spend more time with than yourself. So first and foremost, you need to make sure you're at least okay. And if you're not, then you need to dedicate time to it.
Charity starts at home.
You're just full of the quotes today, you are.
I mean, there are inherent traits of selfishness. That's not what we're talking about, is it? It's just taking a bit of time, whether that's
self-care.
through routines or
making sure you're okay is not being selfish.
No.
I mean, if anything, it's selfless, because you're then a better person to be around as a consequence of it. As you said, 6 months through sort of taking time out through, and other things like medication and whatnot. But I feel You're going to shoot me down here. I'm a much sort of easier person to be around,
Totally.
a better person to be around now than say I was 6 months ago, because I took the time to sort of just be, quotation marks, selfish, even though it's not being selfish, just to get myself a bit more on track again. And sometimes that's all you need. You just need a little bit of a timeout, get off the treadmill, and just think, right, what can I do to myself? What can I do for me that's going to get me better or improve me?
I mean, I'm going to be really controversial.
Oh God, here we go. In episode 1, send your hate mail to.
I think I'm less of a good person to get on with now than I was. But on the flip side, I feel like I'm more true to myself. But I think I'm less. I'm more difficult to get on with to the people that perhaps don't align with the things that I align with.
But
so is that a bad thing? I don't know.
I don't think so, because I think ultimately being true to yourself is the most important thing. Like with me, I wasn't true to myself. I repressed, a big part of my sexuality for half of my life. And as you can tell, that led to nothing but sort of anxiety, sadness and whatnot. So I think if it means perhaps losing a few people, if they don't...
You can't please everyone.
No. And ultimately, the most sustainable way to lead a more fulfilling life, I feel, is by being true to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So those are your 3 words. So we had what? Accountability, discomfort, and progression.
Yeah.
Top that. I'm not going to, so I'm not even going to try.
No, I'm joking. That was,
It's a rubbish word for someone that wants to do writing, but interesting. I really want this podcast to be interesting. I want to talk to interesting people. We've got some, we feel, fairly cool guests lined up.
We've got some cool guests coming up.
Some pretty cool guests lined up. I'm not gonna say too much right now.
Stick around.
Stick around, so you just won't hear this rambling all the time. Yeah, so most of the episodes won't actually just be us two. They'll be mostly guest based. We'll probably do 1 or so episode a month where it's a bit of a recap, just me shooting the breeze with old Rookie Maestro. I'm never letting that die. I will always, whether it's Rookie Maestro or Maestro, I will always start the episode.
I quite like it.
Oh, damn! I can't say it now. Then I'm just going to call you Isaac. So interesting. So talking to a wide range of people and not necessarily confining ourselves to one area.
And experts as well.
Yes, hopefully. Or at least people that know more than we do, which admittedly in most fields isn't difficult.
A dog walker.
If you put together, if you pulled our sort of things on which we're knowledgeable, it'd be single figures, I reckon. Got guitar, drones.
Yeah, which is pretty niche, isn't it? Pretty niche.
Acting, but I'd by no means call myself anything on it really, just because I've done it. Dogs. I know quite a few breeds. Name 5 dog breeds.
I don't know. I'm rubbish at that.
I'm gonna have to.
What are yours? So Jack's got 3 dogs.
I do. I have.
Name them.
So we have Archie, the little Norfolk Terrier. They are. I'm already calling it now. They are our 3 mascots for the show.
Yeah.
If that's okay.
Totally.
Isaac's not heard this before, but I'm just making a bold claim right now. We've got 3 dogs, we've got 3 mascots. Deal with it.
It's more mascots than most podcasts, right?
more mascots than hosts. Yeah. And probably listeners. So we've got, tractor. I live in the countryside.
Shropshire.
Yeah, we are in the urban heartland that is Shropshire. It's just skyscrapers everywhere.
Is it?
Yeah, it's just everywhere, mate.
Oh, yeah.
It's just right out there. Can't you see it?
Metropolis. Really
absolutely
is.
Thriving. It's just a cultural hub. It really is. Sorry, sidetracked. Yes, I've got Archie. He's the Norfolk Terrier. I have Benson. He is a mad Springer Spaniel. And to be honest, I'm surprised you've not actually heard him. There will be episodes where we're recording here that you do just hear a mad dog that sounds like he's not under control. And spoilers, he's not. And we've also got the old guard, the old boy, everyone's favourite, the Golden Labrador Forbes.
Forbesy.
Oh, I think it's better. He's probably on his last legs now, but he's a trooper. I'm sure with listener, goodwill, he'll make it a bit.
He'll make it a bit
further. Yeah.
Run on love power.
Yeah. Is that a thing? Did I say my 3 words? Or did I say 1?
We
interesting.
Interesting, yeah.
I quite like it to be fun and fun / funny. I try very hard and fail most of the time to be somewhat comedic. A lot of what I like doing is say writing comedy sketches, performing in comic plays. Most of the podcasts, you said you listen to 2 or 3 American podcasts. I listen to about 15, give or take. I seriously listen to about 10, and almost all of them are these Australian, specifically Melbourne-based comedy podcasts, which again sounds quite niche. But I'd quite like to instill kind of a lightheartedness to it, because we'll be tackling some, like talking about mental health there is some quite heavy issues we'll probably be delving into. Yeah. But there's no reason why you can't do that with a smile on your face.
I mean, we're getting comedians on it, sort of lifting that mask of
behind the mask of comedy. Yeah. Are they? Arguably, you look at some of the greats. You look at, say, Robin Williams, for example, one of the great comic talents of the 1990s, 1980s. He ended up sadly taking his own life. So it doesn't always go hand in hand that what's on the surface is what's going on underneath. So interesting is word 1. Word 2 is fun. And your third word for today's show is let me think of a word. Hum. It's hum. That's all it is.
What is the word?
Well, the word is let's go with worthwhile. I think we'd be stupid to say we do this podcast if we didn't. We want people to get some benefit from it. We want to reach a wide audience and, as you said, build this community, build this network with listeners anywhere and everywhere. We really want to be inclusive with it. We really want to just get a sort of buzz for it, and so that when people are having a down day, when people are just feeling a little bit crap, they can listen to us and think, we're here, we're fumbling along just as everyone else is, because that's all we're really doing ever. We're never going to be there on this journey, So,
but we are going to get some really interesting people that are going to add insights and wisdom, which is going to be really cool. Yeah. And what for us personally, what other opportunities would we have to talk?
I know
in that detail.
I know,
to these
exactly.
people.
It's brilliant. Yeah, we've already talked to a few people in much more detail than I ever thought we would.
Yeah, it's fascinating, really.
And it's gone. We've said it before. We're kind of kicking ourselves a bit. This has gone further than we ever thought. Yeah. As you said, the heart's racing. We're in uncharted ground right here. We are mapping the poles.
Discomfort.
Buzzword. So that's my 3 words. And I think, for me, the ultimate goal of this podcast is to help people in whatever way possible, and have fun with it. So, how do you think this first episode has gone?
I've enjoyed it so far. I mean, we've talked.
You're so smug. Oh, you've enjoyed your own show. Oh, what are you?
I've enjoyed sitting down and speaking into a
fuzzy microphone. I was wondering where that was going then. Rude.
But
King of euphemism, Isaac.
We've talked about having really detailed, in-depth conversations with these experts, but just to have a conversation with a mate,
Yeah, I mean we're having fun, right? Doing it. We're getting to talk. I think we're talking about stuff more than we ever did at school. Yeah. In fairness, I think at school I just sort of insulted you. Yeah, but I don't know how you put up with me, really.
Did we ever mention? Mental health.
I mean, as I said, it was
we mentioned.
No, not really.
No.
Well, not ever. I don't think.
Don't think it would really.
As I said, it took Christmas till I sort of started talking about it.
Yeah, I don't.
And now you can't stop me, and I'm going to be that annoying guy that just doesn't shut up, and I don't care. You can't stop me. I think that's gone okay. And it pretty much brings us to the end of our first episode. We pray you've enjoyed it, because we really do want to make a good go of this. If you did enjoy it, then let us know. You can contact us at lifearewethereyet@gmail.com. We have our own email address. Look at how pro we are. We're on Instagram at lifearewethereyet. Hopefully by the time this episode goes out, we may have a website, but we're not holding our breath just yet.
It'll be there soon.
And that'll probably be www.lifearewethereyet.com. You've survived the first show, so a big congratulations, you bloody legends. I don't know if that morphed into a really poor generic Australian, that did. One last thank you to make, though, before we go. Neither Isaac or... is it neither? Neither?
Whatever you like.
Either. Neither Isaac or I have a shred of artistic ability in our bodies, and yet by some miracle, we like to think we have a fairly funky design as our logo. And that's because the original image was made for us by the wonderful Heather Nunn. She's a dear friend of mine who I met, I don't know if I mentioned, but when I went to Iceland last summer.
Did you go to Iceland or something?
Isaac, I went to Iceland. It's a great place. You should go to Iceland.
Oh my God.
Not the shop place. Yeah, it's a great place. You should go. She is a jack of all trades, but if she's one hell of a printmaker. So Heather, as in, it's in the art. I don't know what else it would be, but yeah, she's a printmaker. So Heather, a huge thank you to you. You can find Heather, and again, just as with Ellen and her band, I highly recommend this. You can find Heather on Instagram at Heather Nunn Artist, Nunn spelt Nunn, and I really encourage you to do so. We'll leave all the social media stuff on the episode description, and that's it really. If you enjoyed the show, please spread the word and listen again next week, where we'll have a very special / in my views, fairly annoying guest, but we'll keep that under wraps for now. And all that's left to say is thank you for listening. Thank you, Isaac, for doing virtually all of the work on this thing. And as always, and I'm going to make this a thing, just keep plodding along. Goodbye.